Please slow down the volume or mute it. This is an imaginative story and does not relate to anyone. One world is turned upside down when her older brother Ji-hoon is caught in a dangerous situation with the most fearful mafia boss in the city, Kim Taehyung. Ji-hoon wears substantial debt to Taehyung after a failed business deal and his life is on the line. To save her brother, Vine is forced to make a drastic decision. She agrees to marry Taehyung, the cold and ruthless mafia leader, in exchange for her brother's safety. The wedding ceremony was held in an extravagant venue, decorated with flowers and shimmering lights. One felt like she was walking through a dream as she was escorted down the aisle. The guests, most of them strangers, watched her with interest, but all young. He stood there looking very bit of a billionaire, his expression unreadable. When their eyes met once, saw nothing to warmth, no affection, just cold detachment. It was if he was watching a business deal unfold, not his own wedding. As she reached him, Taehyung held out his hand. One hesitated for a moment before placing her hand in his. His touch was warm but emotionless, sending a shiver down her spine. The ceremony began, but Vine barely heard the words. Her mind was numb, her heart heavy with her knowledge. When the time came to exchange vows, the young voice was steady, his words rehearsed and devoid of feeling. I, Kim Taehyung, take your Vine to be my wife, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, in sickness and in health, until that. One solid heart, her voice trembling as she repeated the vows. I, Fan, take you Kim Taehyung to be my husband, to have and to hold from this day forward for better or worse, in sickness and health, until that do us apart. The words fell hollow, like they belonged to someone else. When Taehyung slid the ring onto her finger, it felt like a shackle, binding her to a life she never chose. You may now kiss the bride, the officiant announced. As they turned to face the guests, applause filled the room. Vine smiled for the comments, but it was a strained forward expressions. Inside, she felt like screaming, like running. After the ceremony, the reception was a grand affair, filled with laughter and music, but Van felt completely out of place. She stood by Taehyung's side, playing the role of the delightful wife, but her mind was elsewhere. Taehyung barely spoke to her, his attention focused on the mafia partner business associates. Smile, Vine, Taehyung whispered to her as they posed for another photo. His tone was cold, more of command than a request. Vine forced another smile, feeling like a puppet or strange. She wanted to ask him why he was doing this, why he had chosen her, why he was so detached, but she knew it. As the night wore on, Vine found herself standing alone on the balcony, away from the noise and the crowd. The cool night air was a welcome relief, but it did little to soothe again her heart. She wrapped her arms around herself, staring into the night lights, wondering how her life, regretting your decisions already. Taehyung's voice cut through the silence. One turned to see him standing in the doorway, his expression unreadable. She shook her head even though the answer was yes. No. Taehyung stepped closer. Val met his gaze, a flicker of defiance sparking within her. And what about you? Are you happy with the arrangement? Taehyung's lip curved into a cold, harmless smile. Happiness is irrelevant in the business. Living with them felt like being trapped in a silent, cold world. The house they shared was beautiful, but it never felt like a home. Every room was perfect yet empty. The servants moved quietly around them, attending their needs. But when their presence couldn't fill the void between them, Vine and Taehyung rarely spoke. When they did, it was just necessity, not affection. Vine, do you want me to make anything special for you? Vine asked one morning, her voice careful and polite. Taehyung didn't look up from his phone. No, he replied shortly, his tone flat and uninterested. Vine nodded and turned away, the silence between them stretching on heavy and unescapable. She tried to keep busy, distracting herself from books, TV shows, or even helping the servants with small tasks, anything to avoid the suffocating stillness and fill the house. Sometimes she would glance at Taehyung from across the room, hoping to see some sign of warmth in his eyes, but it was always the same cold, distant, as if she was a stranger. He only spoke to her when necessary, and his words were always brief. At night they slept in the same bed, but it felt like there was one wall between them. Taehyung would lie on his side, back turned to her, while one stared at Celine, wondering how her life had come to this. Once she gathered the courage to ask him, "Do you ever feel lonely?" Taehyung's response was cold as ever. "Loneliness doesn't matter in business," he said, not even turning to his face. One bit her lip and nodded, curling up to her side, feeling more alone than ever. Every day felt like a repeat of the last, with Taehyung's distant presence a constant reminder that their marriage was nothing more than a business arrangement. There was no warmth, no love. 6 months later, one found herself growing used to the routine of their co-distant life. She stopped expecting warmth from Taehyung, stopped hoping for any sign that might care for her, but then little by little she began to notice things that she hadn't seen before. It was a small moments of once that seemed insignificant as false, like the time she caught him staring out a window late at night, his expression unreadable, yet somehow sad. She stood in the doorway watching him, wondering what was going through his mind. "Wine, is everything okay?" she asked softly, unsure if she should even speak. Taehyung didn't answer right away. He seemed lost in his thought, his eyes distant. Finally, he turned to her, his face expressionless as ever. "I'm fine," he said, but there was something in his voice, something that wasn't there before, a hint. One wanted to ask more, to dig deeper, but she held back instead. She just nodded and said okay. She walked back to their room, but her mind lingered in that moment. Another time she found him in his office staring at an old photograph on his desk. When he noticed her, he quickly put it away, his face hardening once more. "What was that picture?" she asked, her curiosity getting the better of her. "It's nothing," Taehyung replied, his tone shutting down any further questions. She couldn't help but wonder about it, about who was in the photo that made him look so sad. And time went on and started seeing more of these small cracks in his eyes. He figured he never spoke about his past, but in those rare, unguarded moments, he saw something different in him, something fragile, something deeply wounded. Once late at night, she heard him mumbling in his sleep, his voice low and filled with a whine. One couldn't make out the words, but the sound of it made just tricky. She wanted to reach out to touch his shoulder to offer some comfort, but she didn't. Instead, she just watched him, wondering about what kind of pain he was hiding behind that cold exterior. To discourage triggered something in her, a mix of pity, curiosity, and strange desire to reach out to him, but she kept it buried deep within her, unsure if she should even could break through the walls Taehyung had built around himself. Despite everything, there was a part of her that wanted to understand him, to see the man behind the mask, but for now she kept her distance. An unexpected person came to the house. One's brother Jihoon. Taehyung and Wan come outside. As soon as Wan sees her brother, she runs toward him and hugs him tightly. "Jihoon, how are you?" He kisses her forehead while Taehyung stands there observing everything. From Jihoon's expression, Taehyung said that he has come for a reason. "Wine, I'm fine. How about you?" Tears started to form in Wine's eyes. Taehyung noticed this and felt uneasy. He has never seen tears in her eyes since their marriage. He sits down on the couch, sternly glaring at Jihoon. "Hey, brother-in-law." Wine is shocked by her brother's confidence, especially since he is addressing Taehyung, who is glaring at him with a deadly look. "I have a surprise for both of you," he says cheerfully. Taehyung tilts his head when Wine remains confused. "Come inside," he yells toward the door, and suddenly two men in black suits walk in, carrying bags in their hands. What's in this? One glances at Taehyung and then him, feeling a shiver down her spine every time her eyes land on her husband, whose face remains deadly cold and serious. "Mr. Kim," Taehyung, "here is all money." He opens a huge bag and places them on the table. Taehyung's expression remained unchanged. He just, "I brought your money back. Now take it and free my sister." One says, but in shock, just then Taehyung chuckles and bursts into laughter. "Taehyung, when didn't you tell your brother that this contract is for until then you will remain my wife, even if I get my money back?" "Why not slowly?" "What?" he shouts angrily. "Why did you do this, Van?" "When I thought since you suffered such a huge losses that we all sell our properties for the company, you wouldn't be able to pay Taehyung back for the least next 5 years." She lowers her head as she speaks, Jeon's eyes widen in disbelief. What the hell is this? Can't be happening. I worked so hard just to save you from this cruel, heartless man. All my efforts can't go waste when come on. You can divorce him. This man isn't right for you. As his face young stand up, causing him to flinch. Taehyung, stop talking nonsense because nothing like that is going to happen. She's my wife for understand and thanks for returning my money so quickly. He says and leave. Thanks, Bob. I'm in contract with one for years because I just needed her and a deal wanted required me to marry. It seems the businessman I was dealing with only works with a man who have families and wives. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's true. That old businessman thinks that way. When I told my dad about it, he said that being a mafia leader wouldn't be difficult for me to find a wife. But since I built my reputation as a gentleman and a nice businessman, I didn't want people to judge me for using a contract man just to secure a deal and then divorcing after a year. Luckily, at the time, I met my business partner Park Ji-hoon, who had fallen deep into debt and owed me a huge amount of money. When I learned he had a sister, I ran a background check on her, and she turned out to be exactly what I was looking for. But the most painful thing is what I feared the most happened. She has become my weakness. Taehyung, are you doing something inside? Taehyung quickly adjusted himself. No, you can come in. Okay. After she entered, noticed his face, seeing that he looked sad. Did he left? Vanya, he left. Taehyung, where did her parents live? They only come once for a wedding day, and I don't even have their number. They barely talk on the wedding day. Taehyung listened to her words, and suddenly he remembers what his parents had told him, that it doesn't matter to them who his wife is because this marriage was only for a business deal, and after went with someone Taehyung had personally chosen. They live in another country and their lives are too busy because they spend a lot of time in business as well. One might sleep and nods, but deep down she doesn't believe him. He's telling her the same lie Ji-hoon warned her about. Taehyung is saying exactly what she expected. One's mind keep replaying what Ji-hoon had warned about. When he's been just using you, believe me, that's why his parents don't contract you. Do you know even Taehyung has a sister who lives in Australia? She didn't come to the wedding. It's because Taehyung is dangerous mafia leader with many enemies and rivals and he can't put his family at risk. But he is using you. He doesn't even care about your protection. That's what keep you going in one side, making her doubt everything Taehyung says and does. Some days later, had come up with a plan to get one out of Taehyung's trap. His best friend, who is also Taehyung's enemy, helped him gather the money to return to Taehyung. Ji-hoon promised that he would try to free Wan from Taehyung too. But Wan still felt uneasy on one side in her brother and the other side is Taehyung. She is torn between trusting Ji-hoon's intention and her complicated feelings for Taehyung. Wan sat at a kitchen table, dim light casting shadow across her face, while the weight of decision was heavy on her shoulders. She knew she had to leave, but the more she thought about it, the more doubt crept in. She stirred a cup of coffee in front of her untouched, her mind raced with the thoughts of what might happen if Taehyung found out about her plan. Can I really do this? Wan whispered to herself. The silence of the house felt expressive, as if the walls themselves were listening to her every word. Her phone buzzed, breaking the thought it was a message from one of the contacts he had made in the past few weeks. The message was short but clear. We can help, but a risk came in tonight. One heart pounded in her chest. This what is the chance she had been waiting for, but the risk was real. She now Taehyung was not someone to be crossed. She had been ruthless side the way he dealt with those who betrayed him. Do I really want to live like this? She thought, her finger trembling as she typed a reply. I will be there. As she sent a message, she heard a sound of footsteps approaching. She quickly put her phone away, trying to act natural. You are up early, he remarked, his voice cold but curious. Wan forced a smile, couldn't sleep. Taehyung nodded, his eyes scanning her face as if searching for something. Anything on your mind? No, she lied, shaking her head, just thinking about work. He stared at her for a moment longer before turning away. If you need anything, let me know. One watched him leave. Her heart is still racing. She knew she was walking a dangerous line, but she couldn't turn back now. The plan was in motion and there was no stopping it. As the day went on, Wan found herself increasingly on edge. Every time she looked at Taehyung, she wondered if did he suspect anything? Was he watching her every move? The tension between them was palpable and neither of them said anything. Later that evening, when prepared to leave, she told Taehyung she had a work meeting and he didn't question it. But as she walked out the door, she couldn't shake the feeling he was watching her that way. He knew more than he let on. The meeting was placed a small dimly lit cafe on the outskirts of the city. One felt a chill run down her spine as she entered. There was thick smoke and the patrons of looked like they had something to hide. She spotted her contract on the back of the cafe. A man with a scar running down his cheek. He gave her a nod. Well, late, he said, his voice low. Sorry, Vine replied, trying to keep her voice steady. I had to make sure I wasn't followed. The man leaned in closer. You know the rest, right? If Taehyung find out, he won't. Vine interrupted, who wasn't sure if she believed it herself. This is my only chance. The man studied her for a moment before nodding. All right, but once you are in, there is no turning back. We will get you out, but it won't be easy. I understand. One side her revolve hardening. She knew this was dangerous, but it was the only way out of the suffocating life she had found herself in. The man handed her a small envelope. Everything you need in here. Follow the instruction carefully. We will be in touch. One took the envelope her finger. As she left the cafe, the weight of what she was about to do hit her full force. She was about to cross a line, one that was no coming back from, but as she walked into the cold night air, she knew she had no other choice. Her mind raced as she made her way back home. Would Taehyung be waiting for her? Would he be how no? What she just had done, she wouldn't let fear stop her now. When she finally reached the front door, she hesitated for a moment. Her hand on the doorknob, taking a deep breath, she pushed the door open and stepped inside. To her relief, the house was quiet. Taehyung was nowhere to be seen. She quickly made her way to the room, hiding the envelope in the. She quickly called Jihoon and informed him. While he did, good man, I spoke to my friend. Don't be scared if Taehyung tries to hurt you. Use your brain and stay calm. Okay, she nods, but deep down she knows everywhere. Wan was lying on the bed when the door opened and Taehyung entered. He looks at Wan if she is awake or not. Wan, do you want to say something? He nods. Taehyung, actually, there was an event party tomorrow. You will have to come with me. Wan paused for a moment and nods while looking at him. Wan, okay, Taehyung. With that, Taehyung nods. He had a packet in his hand from which he took out some medicine and swallowed it. But Father Wan was watching him and couldn't hold back from asking. Wan, are you fine? She hears him chuckling and him shaking his head. Taehyung, you don't need to become my caring wife and you are planning to leave me anyway. He says softly and she frowns confused. What do you mean? Wan, what do you mean? Taehyung, I mean you are not going to be my wife forever, so there is no need to pretend. Don't make me get used to you. He says coldly with the last line.